A bunch of bad words.
What? What'd you say?
A bunch of bad words.
Oh, thanks.
Before you record, I want to
Kelvin.
say a bunch of bad words.
Hello.
Hey, brother. How you doing?
Kelvin, how you doing?
Good, and yourself?
Good. Kelvin, where are you from?
Rancho
Rancho
Cucamonga.
Cucamonga.
Nice, nice, nice. And
Kelvin got wrecked on the home build trip.
you got in a wreck? Wow.
He got wrecked, you
He
know,
got wrecked.
wrecked. Yeah,
Oh.
it surprised him.
So
Yeah.
Kelvin, tell us a little bit about you. We have a little more time, so we'll actually, be a little more personable with people. So Kelvin was just on a home build, and tell us briefly how that went for you.
It actually, oops, 1 second.
It rang your chimes.
And a call come in. It was a great experience for me. It kind of exceeded my expectations, and it really got to me. The whole experience, to see people go from one type of living space to another type, and being able to be a part of that, just was an overall great experience.
Sweet.
Yep.
Sweet.
Yes.
I gotta
Super
send you
duper.
the picture of you holding the baby. I don't think you have that one in your collection.
I have one, but I'll take yours though.
Oh, okay.
I think we'll move to Mark next. Mark, tell us where you're calling from. Or zooming in from
I'm in the Atlanta area.
Atlanta area. And what do you do?
I'm a firefighter paramedic.
Sweet. Oh, you're my security. Right.
You didn't have to deploy his services on the home build? That's really great.
You've been hired.
Mark is awesome.
And Mark, you did a home build. How was that for you?
It was a great experience serving the people and shoulder to shoulder with a bunch of like-minded individuals that share from their hearts. So it was a great experience.
Sweet. Sweet. And if you guys haven't been on a home build, you can look on our website or our Facebook group page, or we'll send you more info actually. But Beth and I are trying to put together some numbers for next year. So if you think you're interested, or you want to bring kids or nieces and nephews, make sure you let us know. We're trying to get way out ahead. And the reason is we're trying to grab the very best dates for kids. Let's go to Linda. Linda is on the phone. Linda, tell us what city you're from and what you do.
I am on the phone. And what was your question?
Oh, tell us what city you're in and tell us a little bit about what you do.
About what I do?
Yeah.
Well, I work basically full time, just about, for working with the church and working with different mission teams. So I just got back from 34 days in Albania and Kosovo and Turkey, and it was amazing. And prior to that, I was the quality manager for AT&T.
Oh, sweet. We'll give you some quality, trust me. So, and Linda,
Then you're surprised. The quality manager is called in to clean up all the messes.
yeah, I needed your number 5 years ago. Anyway, you're in what city?
In what season? Oh, I got the golden handshake season.
No. What city are you in?
Oh, city. I'm sorry, Orange.
Orange, okay. Orange, California.
Uh-huh.
Oh, super. And Tammy, tell us what you do and where you live.
I'm in San Diego, California, and I'm retired.
Nice.
No, I'm in the process right now of changing careers. I was working for the Census Bureau, but I'm not.
Oh, super. Well, we've all been counted, so there's nothing left to do. So
I won't be counting you.
Yeah, exactly. Don't count on me, right? Terry, where are you calling from? And what are you?
Here, this Terry, Sacramento.
T-A-R-Y.
Yeah,
And
that Terry.
What do you do?
Just closed down a panel manufacturing plant and started up a life insurance agency.
Oh, sweet. Sweet. Super. Now that you're speaking about insurance, let's jump over to Joshua. Joshua, what city are you and what do you do?
I am from Long Beach, California, and I actually own a life insurance and financial company myself. So we're definitely gonna have a lot of conversations and talk. I'm sure I can learn a lot from you.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm going to try to get a good rate from one of you. So I'm gonna work on that.
I don't know if you're insurable, Dan.
That's true. And Joshua, what else do you kind of do on the side?
Oh, my main thing on my heart, my main mission goal in life, I'm launching a church in Compton right now. So I moved out to LA, took my business out there, and we're growing a church, launching a church in Compton, California from scratch.
Wow.
So we don't have a building, we don't have nothing. We're just knocking on doors, loving people, meeting the needs of people,
Amen.
delivering groceries and praying for people, and just seeing the move of God out in Compton right now. So keep us in prayer.
Amen.
Already. Joshua, try to stay busy. And then we moved to Jeremy. Jeremy, where do you live and what do you do?
I build boxes, big
Okay.
metal boxes that do things that are simple but complicated.
Okay. And where do you live?
Blaine Park, California.
There you go. And you work for Power Plus. By the way.
I work for Power Plus.
There you go. And Jeremy helps us a lot with GU stuff. He gathers clothes and supplies for lots of people all over the place. Jillian, did I bother you yet? You're still muted. Yeah,
There we go.
The little red thing's on, so I know you're muted. So tell us where you live and what you do.
I live in Lake Forest, which is not too far from, well, it's in Orange County. And I work part-time in HR and finance, and I also work part-time for Samaritan's Purse on a moment's notice. I deploy all over the world in disasters. So.
Sweet. Sweet. Cool. And Mary Ann, did I have you say where you live and what you do?
Not yet.
Well, now's the time.
I live in Phoenix, Arizona. I am a missionary minister and I travel mostly to different parts of Africa and I drive for Uber. I was working for CenturyLink, but they were going to force me to take the vaccine that I didn't want to take, so I left them.
Amen. Awesome.
I said bye.
That means
Yeah.
I'm going to vaccinate you on the trip.
Yeah, God will take care of me. No vaccine for this girl.
All righty, super duper.
Awesome.
Did you get Margot?
I don't know. Did I get you, Margot?
Not yet. You ready for me?
Yes, ma'am.
I live in Rancho Santa Margarita, California, right next door to Lake Forest and Orange County, and I'm retired. And in my spare time, I just do prayer ministry.
Oh, good. I need somebody to pray for me, so I would like to. Actually, on our trip to Mexico, Joshua and a group of them would pray at 4:30 a.m. every day, and I checked them out one day, and I stayed awake, and they did a good job. So, not that I'm judgmental or anything, but anyway, that's very cool that you do that. Okay, so Beth, you want to do a quick overview of the itinerary, just a short, fast thing?
Yep, sure.
Or do you want to say anything about flights or anything like kind of the boring stuff at this point?
So the intention is, I think we put the dates out there for the 14th through the 22nd. We are discovering that flight wise, it might make more sense to return on the 22nd, not the, I'm sorry, the 23rd, not the 22nd, which is a Sunday. So I'm going to throw that out there. Real quick, here is the itinerary. Fly date, October 14th. You'll leave somewhere about 6:30 p.m. on that Friday, fly all night, arrive about 3 o'clock. That looks like what most of the airline flight schedules that are available right now look like. I checked that 2 weeks ago. The way things are changing, there's a constant change of availability. So for right now, that's what we're sticking with. When I go to buy the tickets at the end of August, I'll have a better feel. And what I do is I ask the travel agent to put together the itinerary. We try to focus on primary airports. So those of you in SoCal will fly out of LAX. Anyone from San Diego, of course, we would try to navigate San Diego. Sacramento, we probably would fly you down to LAX and then fly out together from there. There is one stop in Istanbul. It does lay over in Turkey, and that's again just right now based on the tickets that I've been looking at. Because it's overnight, it's a long flight, you got time change. The afternoon that you arrive is pretty much an open free day just to kind of recoup. You'll have dinner with the group, and as you can read through some of the places that we're talking about, and again, this schedule is in flux. We just had a phone call with a planner that's helping us put some other key parts together, and since this was the original format 2 years ago, things have changed, so we're trying to refresh them right now. But ultimately, there's going to be a focus on refugees, orphans, meeting up with an organization called Heart for Lebanon, Near East organization, Kids Alive, Youth for Christ. These are some of the primary organizations that you will have a chance to meet and see the work that they're doing. We want to have a lot of cultural and political conversation just to kind of understand how things have changed for them, what their challenges are, how do they meet the needs of the refugees that are coming in from Syria. That's still an influx that hasn't stopped. So that is up until like Tuesday or Wednesday, and then from Wednesday on, we'll focus on the organization with Kids Alive and some of the other things that they are doing with at-risk boys, some of the impact of not having fathers because they've died in wars. What has war impacted and how it's just changed, everything around there. Hopefully an opportunity to do an excursion through Beirut. Other alternative cultural groups might be the Druze, or even into the Muslim enclaves. It'll just really, right now, we're still kind of waiting to hear back from folks. And then a cultural day, we've been toying with a number of different ideas. We talked about today, hitting the beach, going to Ancient Byblos, going through the cedars, just seeing the sights. And Dan, do you want to mention that any, or do you want to just take it over from here?
Sure. We normally have a full day to do cultural stuff like museums or city tours, and I'm pretty good when I lead trips to just let people do whatever they want on that day. The only thing I ask is especially in Beirut or Lebanon, I'm sorry, is to pair up if you do something, other than what we kind of do officially. But I found that most of our groups have been to Cambodia by Friday or whatever. But towards the end, everybody's pretty tired and they kind of just need a break. And the same thing happened. I did the same thing in Serbia, Hungary. Some groups do everything together. I'm just a little more freedom based on stuff like that. The other thing is when we travel, we have a 11 p.m. curfew, and maybe even 10 p.m. in Lebanon, but we have a curfew for a good reason. We've had people break the curfew And they'd never have a good reason. So I always say, make sure you're back. That's the number one thing is you want to say. So that's kind of how that is. I'm going to show you one video. There's a couple things, and I'm just going to show, I think, 2 or 3 things, and then we'll be done. The thing that got me most interested in Lebanon was the refugee problem, or the number of refugees in Lebanon may be as big as anywhere in the world. They've had them pouring in from Syria for years. And so I always felt that would be an interesting thing to see. I'm going to play one video for you. Let me ask you, Gul, does anybody have any questions so far?
Yes, I have one about the itinerary.
Sure.
Beth, so since I'm the only one, I think, coming from a different state, will you then just be flying me over to LAX so that I can come with the group?
That's a possibility for sure. It all just depends on where the domestic connection is. Oftentimes, if we have to fly people from LAX and then pick up a flight in like Dulles, we would have you meet in Dulles, and then everybody would fly from Dulles to wherever. On the last trip we took, everybody met in Brussels because they were coming from all different destinations. So that would be the ultimate goal, is have you connect at some point. I don't know that I'd have you backtrack, but it just depends. I have to see what the options are.
Okay, because yeah, I'm perfectly okay with coming to California
Okay.
and going from there.
Okay.
It might actually make me more comfortable since it's a high risk trip,
Sure.
which I don't know
Okay.
what that means yet. But
Well,
That means Lebanon is high risk.
yeah. And maybe you should elaborate a little bit on that, Dan.
As far as
yeah,
When
it's
you
my
talk about
first
high
trip.
risk, what do you mean by that?
well, Lebanon was in a war in 2008, I think, with Israel. And the Middle East is always a little bit of a powder keg. And I'm going to have you guys read a book also. Let me see if I can pull it over there.
I think culturally, there's a lot of things that you have to be super mindful of. You don't want to talk about Israel when you are in Lebanon. You don't want to mention it at all. It's not culturally acceptable.
Oh,
The
okay.
predominant faith is Islam. You will be with organizations that are Christian or faith-based. But that is one thing that has to be super mindful of, is the conversations that you have when you're either in groups with other organizations or out on the street. When you're together in your hotel discussing the grant, discussing the download, how the things went, you can talk a little bit more freely, but that is probably the thing that I took away most from some of the conversations with the planners and leaders we've talked to is that cultural aspect is something to be super mindful of. Okay. Being aware of just your surroundings as a whole, sticking with your group, not wandering off the path. This is not a tourist event. This is a research trip. You're going to see a lot of, different, wonderful, amazing organizations that are meeting the needs of the refugees. And then when it comes to the refugees, there's just a heightened sensitivity of understanding the extreme trauma that they have been through. You may meet orphans and they may ask you not to touch them or engage them. Contrast that with like Uganda or Nigeria, where
Where you're
or even
always touching
Mexico.
them.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's,
And
I
so
mean,
this is going to be different than a trip that you've experienced before, from many reasons, for cultural reasons and even political reasons. So when it talks about, high risk, that's part of the high risk.
okay, so pretty much don't really mention my faith and don't really mention Israel at all, right? Because
Yeah.
they're not for Israel. So I'm just an Uber driver. If anybody,
Well, and for you, because you're active, that may be something how you're, in your preparation, right? Is thinking about those things. And Dan has this great book, just talking about, the war and Hezbollah and some of the challenges that the people are facing.
Okay.
Can you guys see the thing?
Yep,
Is that what's up? I can't tell what's up.
The
it's
something
the book
gate.
on Amazon.
Yeah, so
The Road to Fatma Gate.
yeah,
Okay.
I would really like you guys to read this book ahead of time, because it really
Okay.
helps. Pardon me?
All right, sounds good.
He said, okay.
The reason being, it's politics are very complicated everywhere, but they're really complicated in Lebanon. And this book really kind of helps you sort through a little bit some of the things that go on, some of the wars, some of the different groups over there. So I'll send you the link, but I'd like you to read it before you go. I always like people reading books, and sometimes like people shine me out a little bit, but I don't really appreciate them doing that, because we're investing a good amount of resources in you going on the trip. But anyway, this book, I read it, and it's really good about just kind of explaining the nuances, the complexity, all that kind of stuff of Lebanon. And it is very complicated. I'm going to show you a quick video. Try not to lose the screens here. This is a video of the kind of the Bekaa Valley, and it's a short video, and it just talks a little bit about the refugee issue. Can you guys hear that okay?
Yes.
You have good audio?
My name is William Emerson. I'm the field coordinator for the whole Bekaa Valley. The mountains that you can see on my left are basically Syria, directly Syria. So Bekaa Valley is the entrance door from Syria, has been for a while, and it's always been the gateway between Syria and Lebanon. Now, in Lebanon, in the Bekaa Valley, for example, 50% of the population of Bekaa Valley are actually refugees. Most of them live in informal tent settlements, communal shelters, and unfinished buildings. The reason for this is that there is a no-camp policy in Lebanon.
You just turned off your audio.
Which basically prevents the settlement of refugees in camps. So they're basically scattered around in very tiny settlements where they live in conditions that are quite poor in terms of there's no electricity, no running water. As you can see, the Bekaa Valley is not the warmest place in winter. So in addition to living in makeshift environment, they also have to survive having no rights, no legal rights in Lebanon. So they can't work, they can't get integrated in the society. And most of them that came at the beginning of the conflict have no more resources. So they're heavily depending on the humanitarian aid, which affects also the coping mechanism of these people. And again, in the Bekaa Valley, we still have an important number of Lebanese population, which is considered as on the poverty line or below the poverty line. So we talk about 26% of Lebanese that are vulnerable. So if you take 26% of Lebanese vulnerable and you add on an enormous refugee population that has absolutely no means, then you can imagine the situation here.
Hey, I muted you. You'll need to unmute yourself.
That was neat.
So I'm going to try to pull up.
And will we be going there?
Yeah, we will go to the Bekaa Valley at least for one full day.
Okay,
maybe
great.
And maybe 2 full days. It just depends on kind of how the schedule plays out. One of the things I'm trying to do is there's a gentleman that might share a little bit with us that used to be on the city council of Beirut. And so I'm trying to get him because he could give us kind of an idea of just some of the politics there. I'm going to show you, I can show you a little few shots of Beirut. And I just looked these up on Bing, but this is where you guys can see the pictures, correct?
Yes.
This is where the big explosion was, right in here. And I think they're going to leave some of this part up as a memorial. But that was like a small nuclear bomb that went off in Beirut. So you can just see it's a beautiful city. A lot of buildings. You know, when they get in wars with Israel, some of those buildings disappear. But you know, sometimes wars, you think everything got blown up and done away with. A lot of times that's not quite the case. There you can see the big explosion that happened. And let me pull up something else here. That was a good question though on the Baca Valley. We'll definitely try to get over there a couple of times. Let me see here. I'm trying to pull up a map. I don't know if I posted it here. The Baca Valley is about an hour and a half away from Beirut, and it looks like it's east. And the reason that it's a lot of refugees is it's pretty close to Syria. And Syria has been in this perpetual war for a long time. And it's a very complicated war. It's hard to tell like who's the good guys and who's the bad guys, as who knows. Anyway, that's why it gets kind of filled up with refugees. Syria, though, does control the number of refugees in each camp. They don't just let 100,000 people congregate. I think they make them congregate in groups of a couple thousand or less, and that way they kind of keep it spread like that. But the refugees have no rights. They can't work. They can't be legal. They can't do anything. And so that's why they end up just being at the mercy of what, you know, whatever donations they get. Let me try to pull up the map real quick. Does anybody know how you spell Baca? Baca Valley? B-A-K-A-A?
BEQAA.
Okay, so I'll just pull up what I do. Let me share with you again. So there's the screen, and you can kind of see, you know, I'll go out a little bit. You can see there's a country called Cyprus, there's a country called Syria, there's a country called Iraq, and there's a country called Israel and Jordan. So Lebanon's right kind of in the middle of everything. And some of my friends from there have said that it's been described as the Las Vegas of the Arab world, because even though they've had a number of wars, a lot of money goes into that country for recreation, for skiing, for stuff like Las Vegas. And so the Arab world kind of protects it to a certain extent, because that's kind of like the playground. But anyway, so you can see Syria's right here, and Syria, the war in Syria, you know, I don't think anybody can figure out who's what there. It's just been going on forever. But the Baca Valley is kind of right in here, and our trip will be an hour long. It's an hour and a half, something like that. So more than likely we'll go there and we'll you know, play with some of the kids, we'll meet people, we'll spend a couple hours getting there and a couple hours getting back. And so we'll probably just, a lot of the groups, the nonprofits go to that area and do stuff. And so there's a good chance we would do two little trips with two different groups to the Baca Valley. So that's kind of what we're thinking. But when I go on these trips, I kind of like to show people a visual of what we're doing to kind of give them a feel for what's going on. And then Israel is right down here. In the
Do they
book,
border? Do they border Israel?
well, the border is down here somewhere. I think it's
Yes,
right
they
in,
do.
I think it's by Nazareth.
North of Haifa is the border to Lebanon.
Okay,
Oh,
I've
right
been
here.
there.
Tyre,
Right.
Tyre is Lebanon and Haifa is Israel.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
so
So I've been up to Haifa.
Right. Well, anyway, there's some interesting things in the book about the border and when wars start, how that plays out. And, you know, soldiers can see each other at the border. So it's kind of an interesting part of the book. In Lebanon, they have different segments to in Beirut, I'm sorry. There's different pieces to the city. And there's places that are real touristy, and then there's places that policemen won't go into, and there's certain places that even the military and the police aren't allowed in because it's controlled by, I believe it's Hezbollah.
Oh,
And so it's just a real mismatch of all kinds of different things that go on. They just changed the government there because it's been so bad that the economy has crashed. And the food is in short supply. There's just all kinds of problems. One of the big problems though is they always have 5 factions kind of going at it, and it's hard to coalesce around one leader, you know, one strong leader to get anything done. Anyway, there's some really beautiful spots of Beirut also. So that kind of gives you a feel. The other stuff we would do would be in Beirut. We'd go to the school. The orphanage is probably in there in that city somewhere, and you know, different things like that. So any questions? Because I think that I've gotten most of the answers as far as who would really like to go. One thing that you need to know is when we buy tickets, the only thing we ever ask is if we buy tickets, you have to go. The only reason you could get out is if you got COVID or if you get really, really sick or something. In that case, we take care of it. But if we buy tickets and you don't go, we charge you. And I've had to be a little bit nasty with a couple of people on trips, but I know that's just the one thing that respects the resources that we allot to this. And the grants that we do, probably I'll have one of you or two, I'll probably have 2 or 3 of you kind of decide on how we would break up our grants. And for the most part, we'll have enough good quality nonprofits where we'll have a GU will grant out $50,000. And so a couple of you will kind of be in charge of figuring that out. You'll be in charge of doing a little bit of research on the nonprofit, you know, getting some info. And then as a group, any money we raise up to $5,000 per person, Giving University will match. And so we've had some trips where total grants total 55,000. And we've had some trips where they total 125,000. So it's all kind of all over the place. But we normally average probably 75,000. So one thing you can do is encourage your family, your friends. If you go and you really think it's, you know, a lot of it's really great, you know, share with people, because the dollars that you raise can get doubled. And there's really big needs in this country. I know our country sucks right now. We have lots of needs, but most of the time you can magnify it times about 10 in any of these countries that we live in. So anyway, hopefully that answers some questions. And are there any questions though? Terry, you have any questions?
Margot does.
Margot, go ahead. You gotta turn on your microphone though. Your microphone is still on. Oh, she didn't know how to turn it on.
She was on before.
All right, got it.
There you go.
Just the screen wouldn't cooperate. Attire for women. I remember some other countries you can't expose your legs at all and can't wear pants, can't wear shorts. So what is the attire regulation for women specifically?
Good question.
You know, in the countries I've gone to, it's just kind of just be modest. Not necessarily have to wear skirts and dresses and all that.
We'll find
but if
out for
there's
sure.
Okay,
Yeah, if there's
That'd be-
anything
Thank
really, really specific, we'll let you know.
okay. And is it possible for me to fly out of San Diego instead of LAX since I'm closer to it?
We'll take care of all that stuff down the line, but it's a good question. Beth will make a note. Normally, we try to be
Okay.
really good on our budgets. And we normally go by, we have to balance between our budgets and people being close enough to the airport to be realistic with it. So
Okay.
it's hard to say.
Okay, one more question.
Sure.
By what deadline to raise the 5,000? That if I'm
Oh.
trying to do that, what's a
That's a really super good question. You have at least 100 days after we get back.
Oh.
Basically, the board says it's unlimited, but I usually like to bring closure. So basically, you have at least 100 days. If you figure 90 days, it's probably good.
So doesn't have to be raised before we go.
No, because you might not like what we're doing.
Well, and
We have
this
to
is
make
part
sure-
of the, this is part of the grant. You are putting together money, not out of obligation, but out of the desire to help whomever you see. So we try to have you go visit all the different organizations first, and then you can come back and share with your friends or let them know what you've done. You may tell people in advance if they decide they want to gift to you to be able to contribute to the main grant.
Okay, and you'll give us
The-
instructions on how
The
to
other
do.
thing we let you do with the 5,000 is you can pick of all the places we've seen, you can pick if you want it to be.
Oh.
If you want it to be donated the same way, in the same proportion the team donated the big grant. Or if you want to specifically choose one place. For instance, an example would be Josh really likes orphanages, and maybe you can see a really good orphanage there. And Josh would maybe raise some money just for the orphanage. I'm not saying he has to do it, but I'm just saying we let you have some flexibility and a lot of flexibility in the money that you raise. There's also a possibility on the trip that we could find something that's not on our itinerary. In Uganda, they just were in that country and they found something pretty cool and they funded they gave them some funding. So that's always possible. Although I think it's in Lebanon, there's a security we have to be super careful.
You had said, Margot, you needed instructions. Could you repeat that part of the question? Margot? You had said
Instructions on how people give. I guess our connection isn't very good. My question was how to instruct my friends that want to give money, how they give it to me through Giving University. Instructions on how to do that.
Okay, yep, that will be forthcoming.
Yeah, we make it.
Thank you.
Easy. We make it easy. Mary Ann, did you have any more questions? Or Josh, did you have any questions?
No, just get that orphanage on the schedule and I'm good.
Yeah, we try to take care of you, brother. Make sure you don't crash.
So we need to come up with $5,000 after we come back, or that's our goal?
You don't have to come up with anything. It's up to
But our
you.
goal would be to raise money for their need, right?
Our goal
So-
is to be generous, but you can raise as much money as you want, to be honest with you.
Okay.
We match first 5,000 that an individual raises. And an
Okay.
individual can be friends, coworkers, family, you know, whoever you can shake money out of their pants and get. It should be in.
So Dan, just, I can't quite hear everything that you're saying, but you're basically saying that Given University will match up to $5,000 on whatever we are able to get from our donors.
Per person.
Yep, that's correct.
Okay,
We're not looking for you to hit up your churches and do a major fundraiser. It's really oftentimes comes, like Dan said, from friends and family that hear what you saw, you've shared the story, you've come back and said, you know, these people could really use support. Maybe sometimes there's an opportunity to sponsor an orphan. It can be in your head now, but again, like Dan said, it's not an obligation. And it's, if you feel led after the trip to support these organizations, that's where we're saying that you can help bring more money to these different places that you saw.
okay, thank
I
you.
do tell people they don't have to give anything, which is true. However, I do say this, try to pick out one or two that you can high five. And by high five, I mean you give them $5 a month and you get on the email list. Because I'm interested in longevity of relationships with these people. And if this really touches your heart, you know, staying with them longer term. But I always say, you know, give them a high five. Anybody can kind of afford that. And just get up, you know, get on board with them. There's some really great people that you'll meet. It's just, you know, incredible, you know, what you see out there.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see here. Anybody else? Mark, did you have any questions? Did I answer your questions, kind of?
Nope, I've got no questions.
Okay. And let me ask you, Mark,